idea where I'm at. This says Love Trail 5700. I have no clue. I try to use the GPS to get me out. It says no outlet, but the GPS is not picking up out here, so I'm somewhere in the country. I just picked up some Chipotle, and somewhere in Texas. Oh, there's a lake. Maybe that. Oh shit! Dang! Big old hole in the road. Yeah, there's a lake right there, so I'm probably near this lake area. I just ate a tuna fish sandwich. Does that show? Okay, no, there's the lake right down that way. You can see it on the, well, I guess that's not that important right now. Okay, this happened to me in Maine when I lived in Maine, but I was going around in a circle, kept ending up in Parkman and Dexter, Maine, going around in a circle. That's what I base some of Hidden Drive on. If you ever read my play Hidden Drive, which I know you haven't yet, but Peter Wright's character is based on me during that time I was there, and I was driving around in circles all night, and I was running out of gas. Like my gas was running out. There's these same kids right here in this thing. I was running out of gas, and I knocked on this guy's door in the middle of the night, and I walked up to him, and I knocked on the door, and he was in his bathrobe. He looked like a young Kurt Vonnegut. I don't know if it's a reincarnation of Kurt Vonnegut, but he was going to answer the door, but he didn't let me in. And what was weird at the time is I was reading a Kurt Vonnegut biography, and I was also reading Kurt Vonnegut's short stories. This guy looked exactly like Kurt Vonnegut, and right outside of Dexter, Maine. This weird house. It's like I went back in time. I don't know if Kurt Vonnegut was ever in Maine. He may have been, but he was in a bathrobe. It was like a ghost, and he answered the door, or did he? He did not answer the door. He went to the window. He said, "Look, I can't let you in. There's an escaped convict." I said, "Look, here's my driver's license. It's a Texas driver's license, but you can look at it. I just want to use the phone, I guess, to call the police station, so that, or somebody that would know how to get me back to Parkman." So I was trying to get back to Parkman to my cabin, and I was on E. And it was like 10 degrees outside, or 5 degrees outside, and I had a small coat on coming back from Walmart out of Waterville. I had gone to Waterville to Walmart, and I was coming back, and I was on the edge of Parkman. Didn't know where I was. The guy called the sheriff department, probably of Dexter, or I don't even know where I was. I don't know what town I was in. And he got on the phone with him. He told him, because he wouldn't let me in. I guess he thought I was a convict or whatever. But I was there standing outside with my license. I was like, "Here's my license. You have my ID. Here's my car. I just want to find my way back." I kept going in circles. And there's another golf cart right here. And so I was, I'm in Frisco. It says Frisco right there. So I finally go, and he goes, "Look, I can't let you in. I'm sorry. There's an escaped convict. It's going on right now. We can't trust anybody." I said, "Go ahead and call the police. I don't care if they show up. I got to get back to Parkman because I'm running around in circles. If I run out of gas, I'll freeze. Negative, 5 degree weather or whatever it was. I don't even know the temperature. My phone was nearly frozen, and everything was running out. Although I did have the battery left on the car, but that ran out just a few days later. So I could have died. But anyway, he said, "Okay, look, I got a hold of the sheriff. I told him where I was, where Parkman was. Just go down this road that you're on. Stay on this road and take your first right, and just go straight. You'll go right back to Parkman. Just don't keep going around in a circle." But the circle was like 17-mile circle or something. It was like one road, and it would just go right around the circle. It'd go all the way on the outside of Dexter, all the way on the outside of Dover, Foxcroft, and I couldn't find a familiar area. So I did exactly what he said. I said, okay, all right, I'm going to jump in the car. I was already on E. I'll jump in the car, and I took the first right, which is a little country road. It led me right into basically the tail end of Dover Foxcroft. And then I saw the bell tower, and I knew exactly where to go back to the cabin. At the time, I was running on oil, meaning my cabin was running on oil. It was a $900 oil bill a month. We had to get out of there really quick, and I had to get a place that ran on baseboards for electric. Then eventually I ended up in a little apartment that ran on natural gas. You do not want to run on oil. It's too expensive. Not whenever you're in a cabin. But anyway, I finally found my way. I'm on Frisco right there. This is the Frisco sign. You can see it right here. I found my way back. It took me a while. I had to write a book. But I was there for 17 months. I was in Maine, Dover Foxcroft, for 17 months. I worked in I worked at Hardwood Products. It was a wood mill that made medical supplies and tongue depressors. They made corn dog sticks for eating, vaginal swipes, DNA things for swiping DNA, medical equipment, ear swabs, Q swabs, and medical equipment and things like that. And it was like really loud work. I ended up it was so loud that I got tinnitus in my right ear, so I couldn't really hear that well for a while. It got better though. After about 4 years here, it started to go away. I'm not even really the tinnitus is pretty much gone. It healed. It actually can heal. But I had tinnitus really bad for about a year or two afterwards, where it kind of drove me crazy a little bit. Look at this. So this is going to be about a 10-minute post. So anyway, I wrote the book Escape from Maine. I entitled it Escape from ME, like Escape from Me, which is Maine. And I left Maine after 17 months and went back to White Settlement, Texas, which is right on the outside of Fort Worth. And that's when this girl called me off of Plenty of Fish. I thought she was a 12-year-old. She turned out to be 29 at the time. Her little voice was, I was so scared. I was like, her parents are going to kill me, because she sounded like a 12-year-old. Hi, I wanted to talk to you. You mentioned something about baptism on Plenty of Fish. And I was like, there's a 12-year-old just called me about Plenty of Fish. I said, oh gosh, I'm going to have to meet this little kid and like drive her back to her parents' house. She turned out to be a 29-year-old woman named Angel. And I ended up marrying her. And we had 3 kids. And it's probably the most beautiful thing that I've ever did in my entire life. But regardless, that was after I wrote that book, and I left the book on Fiction Press, or Fan Fiction, and it's still there in parts and segments. Pretty much, it's still there. It's in third person, based upon a character named Jonah Samuel Camden III. It's based on 3 different things. Jonah being Jonah in the well, or Jonah in the fish, the big fish from the Bible. Samuel, from the book of Samuel, because I was reading Samuel 1 and Samuel 2 at the time I wrote it. Then Camden, because I applied at a bank in Dover Foxcroft, and they turned me down, so I had to work from Hardwood at the manufacturer. So I said, you know what, I'm gonna the last name of this character is Camden, because this bank's titled Camden Bank, and I'm I'm going to write his last name is. I ran into Bert Shavitz, who is the owner of Burt Bees. He's in the book. I wrote it all in third person. If you ever read it, it's just about this wood mill worker that wants to get back to Texas, and he lives in Maine for 17 months. That's all it's really about. And then in the end of it, he meets his wife and in Texas and stuff like that. But the character's name is Jonah Samuel Camden III, and that's the character, the protagonist in the story. I want to make a movie out of it maybe one day. I think I got the soundtrack going in my head, but it would be really tough to do, and I'd have to need a budget because of the cold. I don't want to go out there and die of the cold trying to make that movie. At the time, I came up with an idea to make a horror film about the fear of cold called, I believe it's called Cryphobia. I think I'm saying that wrong. Not Cryphobia. It's not Cryphobia. It sounds like cryogenic. I can't think of the name. It means to be afraid of the cold. I think the word cry is in it because that signifies the cold. The character's afraid of the cold. He has a phobia of cold, of dying of the cold. It's actually a real phobia, and it starts with cry. So there's a name for it. You can look it up to find out. But I was going to do a horror film about that, and the community theater, Center Theater at the time, I met some actors out there, and we started planning on doing it, but we figured we'd probably really die of the cold. So we canned the picture because we didn't have a budget. We were like, we'll probably really die. It was about these people. It's kind of like Blair Witch. These people go out. There's these tour guides that take these people out to the mountains of Maine, and the tour guide is a little sloppy, so he leaves his battery on. And when he leaves a light on in the car, so when he goes and takes everyone out to the mountains to go, snowshoeing or whatever, when they come back, they can't get the car started, and they die in the car. And it was going to be like not like kind of snuff film, but something similar to that. And you're seeing found footage of these people that die of the cold, and we were all going to do it. And I started writing the script and everything. But because we had no budget at all and everyone was so busy, we figured we'd just go out there and accidentally die of the cold. We're going to do it during the snow. The snow season's about 4 months there. But that was another film idea too. I can't even remember the title. I just know it means the fear or the phobia of the cold is the title of that film. I'm going to look it up later. But anyway, got a lot of film ideas for Drive Film Productions of Texas.